Right, hopefully you can hear me. Fantastic. Hello everyone and welcome to South Coast Summit. I hope this is one of your early sessions. We're going to be talking about Microsoft Viva today, what it is, and more importantly, why you should actually care about it. My name's McDonnell. I'm head of practice for Modern Workplace at CPS. Been working with SharePoint for many, many years. I actually had hair, and it was slightly dark when I started with that, as Susie may vaguely remember. Yeah, I knew that was going to come. Started off in financial services, and about 5 years ago, that's making some nasty feedback. About 5 years ago, moved over to the consulting side. Like to speak at conferences and user groups. Also the co-host of the Grey Hat Beard podcast. If you haven't listened to it, imagine if you've been to a user group and you have a quick chat about Microsoft stuff in the pub afterwards and you kind of get a little bit excited. That's what it's like. We have had some people say, we love it, we put it in the background, it just fades nicely into the background. We kind of take that as a compliment, but yeah, a slightly backhanded one. Anyway, we're going to talk about Viva today, and you'll notice I use the word the Viva brand. And the reason is you have these 4 pillars. You have your connections, insights, topic, learning from there, but it's all surfaced in the same tools you're using already. It's surfaced in Teams. It's making use of SharePoint. This isn't something new that you need to kind of install and get your users going to different places. It's all in that flow of work that people are using already. You've got your connections, which builds up your culture and communications, as it says there. It's about how you connect people within your organization to each other, connect to the organization, connect to the tools that they need to actually do their job. Insights provides you that understanding of what people are doing. I don't know how many of you are CEOs or heads of department, and you probably used to be in the office, you walk around, you kind of get that feel for the buzz. Everyone's remote. You can't do that. You could walk through people's kitchens, they'd probably kick you out and be a little bit surprised, but you can't get that buzz on how people's feeling, and Insights aims to help you do that. We have topics, which is all about that knowledge management, getting the right knowledge to the right people at the right time from there and surfacing it. And Viva Learning, which is all about helping people get the right skills and getting their growth. And this is all part of the Microsoft Viva Employee Experience Platform. So if Viva is the platform, then what's that EX? What is employee experience? And there's no common definition of employee experience. Just as there's no one way to run a business, there's no blueprint for the creation of culture. It's about building the team, building a success of a business. And despite the uncertainty around that definition, organizations and business leaders really want to create the best practice for their employees and lead that experience, make it happen. It's such a big topic at the moment. But why should you care? I mean, I live in a nice idealistic world where people do things because it's the right thing to do, but that's not always the case. So what matters? How are you going to kind of sell this to people? Maybe your CEOs out there, exec members, department heads. Why should you bother spending that time for employee experience? And there is the answer to this. It goes beyond motivation and simple job satisfaction. You want employees who have good quality jobs, work environments, and are managed well, that they'll be happier, they'll be healthier, they'll be more fulfilled. And what that means to you is they'll be more likely to get greater productivity within your organization. They'll be able to build better products and services, improve that excellence, that quality of materials being created. And even better, it's that innovation. It's that stuff that will make your organization stand out to other people. If you give those employees the right tools, that's where they have the time to think, that's where they have time to focus, and that's where innovation happens. Now, it's all very nice me saying this, but there is evidence behind this as well. There is a set of surveys. So whether it's Glint doing surveys and realizing that highly engaged employees are 12 times less likely to leave the company, reducing that cost, reducing that loss of knowledge. Whether it's PwC finding that top-performing companies report that digital training programs boosted employee engagement and performance. Whether it's LinkedIn Learning finding that in their 2020 workplace learning report, 94% of employees would stay longer if their company invested in learning and development. Or Gallup that found that organizations with highly engaged employees have 21% greater profitability. That sounds pretty good to me. It's not really a bad story. Real facts, real benefits. And what this means to your organization is that people in your organization are what matter. It's those people, bringing them together into a consistent and focused set of behaviors and attributes about what your company culture is. We haven't been in the office. We're not going to see that branding day in, day out. We're not going to see those motivational pictures with kittens hanging off, or hopefully something more tasteful than that. So how do you get that culture across to people? The digital culture is your culture. And this current world where people may be or not be remote, that is key, those hybrid ways of working. What it finds is whether you're bringing together meetings, chatting online, collaborating on documents, tracking your tasks, all those activities are now focused on the digital. And this is the same with the employee experience. At CPS, we like to look at this as part of an employee life cycle. Now, I do apologize, and see, I'm seeing a few of you doing this. I knew with this slide, everyone's going to go like that. I'm not a brand person. I'm not good at making things pretty. I'm doing my best with it. But if you think about that employee life cycle when you bring people on, you want that initial attracting the right talent, getting your name out to the right people to bring them there, whether it's sponsoring events like this to come and attract those amazing people who are coming and talking here. And then when you've started that conversation, you've got your roles, you want to hire them. At that point, you want to start building that connection, building that link with people. You want to onboard them and make sure they can get going straight away. They've got the knowledge, they're empowered to do what they need to do. And then you want to engage them throughout that life cycle when they're there at your organization, keeping them focused, keeping them part of it as well. You want to help them perform. You don't want you don't want to be spending your whole time just looking at that, trying to say, what is it you're meant to do? You want to make sure they know what they need to do to help them to do their best job. And if they can't, you want to develop them. You want to extend them, look and understand what it is that they need to do to make their role better, to make what they're doing better, or to look at new roles that could extend them even further. And, as will happen, at some point they will depart. You want that to be a positive exit. You might want them to come back. It's a small industry. You're going to bump into them again as well. But they're going to be speaking to other people, and they're going to spread that message. So if they've gone on to different things, you want to make sure when they're talking to people there, come back and speak to this company. They're fantastic from there. Think about this from another way, and these are Glint's 6 key elements of employee experience. You've got those things that you want to focus on alongside those life cycle that you've got moving there. So whether it's the well-being of making sure that people are feeling good, feeling happy, thinking about mental health, you've got building those connections between people with the organization, helping that focus that allows the innovation to happen, empowering people to have the tools they need to do and the knowledge and information they need to get their job done. Helping them grow and not just stay where they are, because people that are growing have that opportunity to kind of keep going within an organization and get the best of them. And making sure that the purpose of your company, what you're trying to achieve, is well known by everyone, and they feel that what they're doing plays into that organization's purpose as well. So here at CPS, we like to think about supporting that employee experience. And I can see Steve's over there. He's going to know that I've stolen these 4 words. But it's about people, processes, tools, and governance. It's not just about switching on your technology and going, boom, everyone go and start using it. It is about all the different elements, about making sure people understand it. You have the right people in the right areas. You have those processes that go through as well. You can turn on a tool, but if it doesn't have the process behind it, it is not going to work from there. And if we take those 2 elements of that employee life cycle, those pillars of employee experience as well, at different points through that life cycle, you're going to have different focuses. Again, I talked about when you're trying to attract people, you're trying to share that purpose that you have as an organization. When you're hiring them, you want to connect with them and get that connection so they understand who you are and what's going on from there. When it comes to onboarding, you want to think about their well-being from that point. You want to get that connection with them, share that purpose, empower them to be able to get started. Engaging, it's the whole lot. That's the busiest part of it. That's the biggest element that you want to be considering there. And going through, you can see the sort of life cycle thinking there when they depart. you want to keep that connection with people. You want to get that purpose that people have. And we've found that putting in the people, processes, tools, and governance for these different elements is where you can really make a difference. And speaking with organizations, say, yeah, we're absolutely mature, we're fantastic, we're level 400 with that. We could possibly do with a bit more when it comes to the hiring and the onboarding process on there, looking at the different areas from that. And even better, Viva plays a massive part in this. This isn't the sum total. You could use it in all the areas, but you think about that Viva Connections on there. It's about connecting people. That focus, that understanding of booking your focus time, understanding how much time people have available. Are they booking their whole day with meetings so they can't get anything done? You've got that understanding with Viva Insights. You've got that ability to perform and develop with Viva Learning to give you the courses that are targeted to you, that are built to what your role is and what you need to do. You have Viva across all elements of this, but particularly those ones with there. Now, when I put this deck together, it's Microsoft Viva. What is it? And some of you might be coming here to actually learn what Viva is, and you're thinking, yep, Kev's waffling about employee experience and all this big fluffy stuff as well. But don't worry, we are going to get onto what Viva Connections actually is. When it comes to Viva Connections, it is about getting your news, your events, your tools, all there surfaced within there. And if any of you are thinking, well, that just kind of sounds like a SharePoint intranet, I'm not going to fight you on that one too much. But what is important is it is there in Microsoft Teams. This is where people live. This is where people are doing their work. They're talking about their projects. They're chatting with people. One of my fellow MVPs I was talking to, they turned it on in their organization, and they saw a 10-fold increase in the engagement with their intranet. And this isn't, they already had it as their landing page. Every time you open the browser, there was the intranet, but people just clicked off and did other things. By putting in Viva, they've seen a sustained over, I think it's about 3 or 4 months, it's continued going on there because it's there in that flow of work. They're seeing people using the dashboards to get to the tools they need from there as well. More importantly with this is you've got that mobile experience. It's now in public preview. I think it's fair to say it won't be too much longer before it becomes generally available from there. You've got that mobile experience with that dashboard, getting to the tools you need, the feeds that gives you that update of what's happening within your organization, what's taking place, and you've got the resources which give you that link to the key things you need from that. Where this is a big message, and some of you may be working primarily with information workers, desk-based, but where you have those frontline workers who aren't sat at the desk, don't have their laptops all the time, they are mobile-based. This is where the power comes in and getting that out to the right people. The people who've often been ignored by these digital tools or not had the same experience are going to get those same tools from there. We've got a bit of a sample site. You can kind of see the example. Great thing, again, it is SharePoint. You can build up what you want, but we find this kind of model works well. So you have that corporate news from across the different departments. You can build in the power of approvals, of Power Automate within there to be able to take through and manage that however the comms teams want to take place from there. This is your traditional intranet. But what we found is the more people, there's often comms teams just want that. That is what they want people to see. The reality is that if you're not feeling engaged with that, you won't actually interact with that content. So you want to bring those personalized links that are available there, the tools that are relevant to you. You want your personalized news from across there. I've got examples on there. It's actually cut off slightly there. If you're working on a project and people are sharing updates from that project, that's what you want to see. It's the stuff you're working on, the stuff you use from a day-to-day basis. That means you're far more likely to look at the wider corporation news as well. If we take a look for that, oh, I haven't updated that text, sorry on that one. You've also got those resources, that access to the content you need, that global navigation to get to the things you want, access to the sites you use on a regular basis, access to the news from every single page. So you can browse around from the intranet and still get back to that quickly and easily. Flip back one sec. The dashboard there, at the moment, that is just static links. One of the things that is coming with Viva Connections and is there in the public preview is the dashboard tool, and that will be able to be surfaced as a web part on the main page as well. And this is where you have that dynamic thing. It's not just a link into your tools. You can see there we have an absence system. You can get the next date of your leave that's going to come up. It's pulling that live from the information. I've got my expenses on there so I can understand how many things have I got to book in. It's quite nice coming to a conference. I can actually start thinking about expenses. I've got to remember how the tool works again. But having it surface and access to you is the key part on there. You can bring in your apps, your pages, make it beautiful, and it's personalized as well. So, for example, I've got the London office there. If you're based in Glasgow, then you can have that automatically recognize that and go to the Glasgow office as well. So it's all about being related to you, bringing in your Teams apps. You've got Microsoft created cards such as tasks. You've got custom developed tasks. If any of you are a SharePoint framework developer, that's what these can be built in. But there is also the, they've called it the card designer. It's a low-code way of getting some pretty complex things, making it look how you want to as well. Moving on, we've got Viva Topics. It's about that knowledge, expertise in there. Turning your content, it's going across your Microsoft 365 environment, and hopefully pretty soon also being able to pull in your external content, whether that's file shares, could be ServiceNow. If you have your knowledge bases in there, you'll be able to pull all this content into this and have it flag up. And I always think people talk about knowledge management and think, oh, that's about searching, browsing through, trying to find information when I need it from there. It's not. It's about getting that right knowledge to the right people at the right time. Talking of time, better keep a quick eye on that. It's about making sure that when you're booking leave and you want to know what the leave policy is, it's there. You're not having to kind of go and search afterwards and try and find it and say, have I got 25 days? What about paternity leave? I know Microsoft had the kind of mental health days. Where does that fit in? It should be there when you need it. If you're a new joiner and you've got all those acronyms that everyone just reels off and you sit there nodding and going, no idea what they're talking about. Having that information that you can go and surface, and maybe a news article pops up. For example, talking about adoption and change management. I'm going to pop to one of the other slides. Yeah, adoption and change management. A news article comes up. You've got a new win from Woodgrove Bank about adoption and change. I don't know what adoption and change is. But you can see you've got those underlined articles that have been automatically matched with those topics. So when I'm seeing that news, it's telling me what it's about at that point. And I can hover over Woodgrove Bank, find a bit about it. Who is the expert around it? What resources can I get to? And if you haven't been pissing about with PowerShell and breaking things, you will get a description as well, which is great. Apologies for the bad language there. Coming back to actually creating those topics themselves, you can see there is the adoption and change management page. For anyone to come from a SharePoint world, it's a SharePoint page. You can add web parts, you can put your images on it, you can put any other stuff, you can have your video. I'd love to know if anyone has actually used the Kindle Instant Preview on a page for Valid, because I see it there every single time, and I've never met anyone who's seen a good purpose for it. But you could have that on there as well. And what it will do is give that header. You can see you can have alternative names. There's your acronyms, your ACM instead of adoption and change management, talking about being training as well. And you can define your experts. If you think about Twitter, you have that blue tick. They kind of validate it as being that person and being an expert in there. That's the curated experts that appear there. But you also have suggested people. As on Twitter, you have people talking about the subjects and talking and talking and talking and talking. Now, they may be experts, they may just talk a lot about it. This will be the same thing. It's giving you that information, not just of those defined experts, but the people who are talking about that subject as well. That crowdsourcing of information, who might actually be a useful person to contact, especially if that expert is very busy in a large organization, you may not want to speak to them, having a chat with those suggested people. This comes through to those pinned files and pages. That is that expert who owns that topic, has defined those as the right content. You also have suggested sites, files, pages that will come through automatically. If you, for example, that news article will talk about adoption and change, it will put those into there. And things are popular, it will use magic algorithms that you can't see to kind of surface that and get the information through as well. The big power from topics, though, is the AI. You could have created those pages, manually set those up, had your details there. It's about how it goes and finds those topics, finds information about that. But it doesn't just find which pages and sites have mentioned that topics, it will find topics itself. If you're talking about a new client a lot, you will see that pop up in your suggested topics. If you're talking about Microsoft Teams, Skype for Business, or SFB, it will find that automatically, and it will determine the experts based on the people that have talked about it. Sadly, even if they've left the organization and gone on to Microsoft and deserted you, they do still pop up there, which is a slight shame. But the great thing is you can manage these. You can edit that. You can change that. You have those knowledge curators who are going to change that details as well. You may see the dip in there. That's why I've taken those suggested ones and actually said, yes, these are valid ones. I was trying to do all of them, but it's been a bit busy, so I haven't quite got round to them. Steve, I do need to do an update on Viva topics that we've got set up at some point as well. But it gives you those suggested ones that you can actually filter through as well. Moving on, Viva Insights. As I said, this is all about getting that understanding. It's that insights into your organization. But what I love about it is it's actionable insights. You have two elements. You can see the big picture of the smiley face with the personal insights. Many of you may be using this already. They've rebranded the Cortana emails that kind of give you recommendations, talk about, are you booking enough focus time, all the other information there. That's all Viva Insights, that personal one, and that is for you. That is for you to look and see, have you got enough time with your one-to-ones, whether it's above or below? Are you spending enough time? Are you connecting with your key collaborators? It's surfacing that data to get through from there as well. Importantly, that is your data. Only you can see that for your personal information. When it comes to the aggregated, so you can see down here the leader and manager insights, it is aggregated. You can't look at an individual. You can't say a manager and say, who is it that's working late, so I can go and target them and tell them they need to keep going and things like that. The point is to look at your team and say who is spending time going on there, and with those actionable insights, using that leader or manager insights from there through the app, it will recommend things you can do. For example, if people are working late, one of the things is if you work late, you send an email, someone will see that when they're sitting watching TV, their focus on the TV is gone, they're thinking about work. That kind of burnout is kind of never being able to get away from it, just from that one email. They may reply, they may just sit there thinking about it. It's changed their focus. What instead it recommends is you use the scheduled send. So if you really think you need to work at night, and many of us do, they might go for a run during the day, look after the kids, and then finish off their day in the evening, use a scheduled send. Delay that so it comes back in when they're back to their working hours as they've defined it. And it's those recommendations that come through from this. You probably can't quite see, there's a little looks like a blob there. That's talking about the connections between the teams in the organization. As we've come through this pandemic, we're all kind of built out and worked well with the teams we work with on a regular basis. But those connections in between the teams have got more and more fragile. You're not seeing that same interdepartmental bumping into people, having good ideas because you chat to people there, maybe a quick beer in the pub after work when the real inspiration happens from it. Whether you're drinking alcohol or not, I should say, from there. This is about seeing those connections between people, being able to visualize, because Microsoft knows who you're chatting to, who you're having a meeting with, who you're emailing. All that information is coming through, who you're working on documents with, as well as your organization. All that feeds into the algorithm to know how people are connecting. And Viva Insights gives you ways of getting to that data and understanding that. Now, we're going to do a quick test because I've got a video coming up. Our new head of practice for security, compliance, and identity, Peter Rising, another MVP, is going to talk a little bit about Viva Insights and the security. So let's see if the voice comes. Oh, I should say there might be Furby noise in the background.
Thanks so much, Kev. Hi, everyone. I'm Peter Rising, Microsoft MVP and head of security, compliance, and identity at CPS. I hope you're all having a wonderful time at South Coast Summit. I'm sad not to be there in person with you all, but I'm happy to quickly share some thoughts with you all about how Viva Insights has changed the way that I work from home. Insights really has transformed my work from home workday and made me feel so much more organized and connected. I start my day in Teams with Insights, and it helps me to stay connected with my colleagues and reminds me of emails that I need to follow up with and tasks that may be due. I can also easily book regular one-to-ones with my team, protect blocks of my time to focus on important tasks, and set a virtual commute every day to help me wrap things up and see a preview of my meetings for the following day. I can also record how I'm feeling with emojis, and finally complete my day with some guided meditation from Headspace, which really is so calming and helps me to leave my work behind for the day and relax and unwind. I really can't recommend it enough. Viva Insights really makes a difference to me, and it can for you too. And with that, I'll turn it back to Kev. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pete. Now, if you heard some kind of beeping and weird noise in the background, Pete's been very open about his family life, his own struggles, and also his son. He's got a very autistic son. If you look at the Humans of IT blog, he's put a really heartfelt message on there. One of the things that his son likes is playing with Furbies at the moment, and really likes to do it just behind his door where he's trying to talk. So we have quite a few meetings with lots of Furby noise. But this is the employee experience. This is the life we're living on the moment. So it was really good. Pete, he really wanted to be here, but just, I'll be honest, and he's honest about this, he couldn't face it. The thought of seeing this many people really heightened his anxiety on there. And he's been very public and open about talking about that, to sort of help him on there. And this is where the employee experience come in and understanding different ways you can work. I have many meetings with Pete on a regular basis via Teams to allow those things to happen. Moving on to the final current pillar of Viva is Viva Learning, and this is about your skills and growth. There are some misconceptions about this. This is about pulling all your information and having a massive load of training material. It is important to say that Viva Learning is about pulling the training material you have. All your other learning management systems, I know large organizations often have 3 or 4. You might have LinkedIn Learning. You might have the ones you have for security and compliance that we all love to do on a regular basis on there. This is about pulling those into one place and having one place to know what have I done, what haven't I done from there. But it's also about what your role is and what is needed from there. It's going to get more and more important with the AI about recommending the courses that you should be doing, understanding what you do and saying, well, we know you do these things, you'll talk to these people, they've been doing this course, we think it will be relevant to you. And starting to see, again, a lot of this Viva is pulling your connections from different systems, making that available with AI to be really important from there. And that's where the Viva Learning really comes in from that. There is content with it, there's a free tier with it that's going to be have elements of LinkedIn Learning. It's got learning pathways, so if you're trying to get people learning about Microsoft 365 and how to use things, will all be able to be surfaced through this. If you go for the licensed version, you can bring in your own content. You can bring in things like SuccessFactors, Cornerstone, other training providers, and I'm sure more and more are coming all the time on there, that can really give you information. You can probably can't see some of the numbers. You can see who's liked it. You can see who's run that course, get an idea on those popular courses, and giving that window into that ability to learn from there. So, why Viva? Yes, I do have a lot of cats in here, sorry. It's all very nice. Again, we talked about why employee experience, but why is Viva going to make these things nice to you? You've seen some of the functionality. What is it about it that makes you want to invest that time, invest that money in actually making Viva happen? And I like to think of it making it easy to do the right thing. A great example, we know that we should be booking focus time and we should put time aside to get stuff done, but you never quite manage it. Maybe you've started a habit at the beginning of each week of booking that time, and then over a couple of weeks you have a busy Monday and you don't do it, and then it just disappears. Viva makes it easy to book your time. It gives you that reminders. It finds where the time is. So all you have to do is go, click, boom, I've got that focus time booked. We all know that we should be telling our staff that they shouldn't be working too long, that we should book shorter meetings, have 50-minute meetings so we have time in between those, even starting them at 10 past the hour to make it more likely people do leave those gaps. But we don't. We ignore that. Viva Insight give you that advice and recommendation to do it. We know we should make it easy for people creating the intranet to get to the tools they need to do. Viva Connections makes it easy for your employees to get the tools they need and even surfacing that data to know why they're going into that tool. We know we should be creating knowledge that people can reuse, but trying to organize and get all that governance, that information management, some companies have done it fantastically. Many, many others have tried and maybe done it once and then it's disappeared off. Viva Topics makes it easy to surface the knowledge you've got across your estate and make that accessible at the right time for people. We all know we should book time to do learning. I've booked for my team now an hour every Friday where they should be doing LinkedIn Learning. So I've made it easier. They have that time reserved on there. Whether they're doing it or not is a slightly different topic that I won't come on to at the moment, but we're having that chat as it goes on. But making sure that you have Viva Learning there, showing you what courses are relevant, making sure that it's not trawling through stuff, trying to find the right things. It's got it there. You just go click and go, do you know what? I've got 5 minutes. There's a nice 5-minute LinkedIn Learning course about presenting skills. I'm going to go and give that a go. That would be quite nice. Important with all this, and I'm going to bring Pete back in a sec, is talking about that security, that understanding. When you're looking at employees, you've got employee data, you've got all those things they're doing, making sure that trust in it is really important. We've worked with clients who have a lot of involvement in Germany. When I was in financial services, the People Council in Germany were an absolute nightmare because any initiative you wanted to do, there was always challenges. What is this going to mean to the staff? What is it going to mean? I look back at that now and actually think, yeah, well, this is what Viva's about. What does it mean to staff? Viva can support that. It can help surface that information for you and having conversations with people where actually the Workers' Council are saying, yes, we want to know where people are being forced to work after a thing, rather than that kind of acting as a blocker. But the privacy and security is really important, and Pete's just going to have a talk about that a little.
So now that you've heard from Kev all about the goodness that's baked into Microsoft Viva, let's take a moment to talk about everyone's favourite subject of security and privacy. How does this work in Microsoft Viva? And should you be concerned? Well, the good news is that data processed within Microsoft Viva Insights protects your employees' privacy and complies with local regulations such as GDPR. Content in your insights is completely private and available only to you. Data security is organically handled as Insights processes and stores your Insights content right to your own Exchange Online mailbox. So, awesome. What about Viva Topics though? Well, security and privacy of your data is absolutely respected, and Topic Experiences does not grant users additional access to any files that they don't have rights to. Existing Microsoft 365 content security features are used to control the AI-generated content that is surfaced to your users. So permissions to SharePoint sites, files, folders are all respected, and alongside Topics admin settings, which determine what a given user can see in Viva Topics, you're good to go from a security and compliance standpoint. Thank you.
Thank you, Pete. So you can see you've got those 4 pillars of Viva. They're secure. They're making it easy to do the right thing. Fantastic. And I know when Microsoft announced the pillars, everyone's like, great, we're going to see more functionality come with these. But they've kind of alluded to, actually, this isn't the end of Viva. Viva is going to grow and grow. And as of last week, they announced that they acquired Ali.io. And they said this is going to be, I've said the 5th, it's certainly going to be one of the next Viva pillars that's coming through. And this is all about OKRs. If you haven't read about OKRs, do have a look. Really interesting. These are about objectives with key results. You've probably heard SMART, specific, measurable, I've certainly forgotten the A, realistic, and time-boxed from there. OKRs about setting that objective and then setting how you're going to measure that objective from there. The important thing that really fits, though, the Viva employee experience side, it's talking about purpose. So setting those objectives from the top of the organization, having that cascade down to teams, having that cascade down to individuals, so that you know when you've had that conversation, what am I meant to be doing this year? You know exactly how you're contributing to what the organization's doing, what their goals are from that. And all those numbers will measure up. And what I've loved, I've done a little trial. If you have a look at my blog, mcd79.com, I've put some of my experiences of setting up the trial and seeing that. What I really like, unfortunately you can't see this on the trial from there, is you can connect to systems. So you can connect to SQL databases, you can connect to SharePoint lists, you can connect to other non-Microsoft ones as well, which I'm not mentioning because I've forgotten them rather than because I'm trying to hide any non-Microsoft stuff. But you can get that data that's coming through. So maybe you're measuring your client satisfaction within Dynamics, you're sending those forms out, and you want to see the number of projects I as an individual have worked on, what has been my client satisfaction on those? You can see that number. You can then see for your team, for your department, what is the average from those, for an organization, and it all rolls up. So you can do it automatically. This isn't about some poor soul, possibly called David, having to sit around typing lots of information in and for updating all these numbers. It comes from the system. And what it encourages is to get that regular update. So rather than having once a year or maybe twice a year, suddenly remembering that you've got to talk about your objectives, it reminds you regularly, say, these are what you've got to do. Are you doing things with this? Have you had that conversation with your manager? Can you provide updates on what you're doing there? Encouraging that continuous update, not that kind of panicked end of year and then probably forgotten about 2 weeks later. So it'll be really interesting to see how that integrates with the wider stack within Viva as well. Now, CPS are sponsoring. I know many of the community ones, we don't sell things, but I want to talk about what we do offer within there. We have a Viva Discovery workshop, and this is about understanding your employee experience. It's about coming and talking to you, understanding what the issues you see, what the opportunities you see, demonstrating what Viva can do, and then hopefully bringing those two things together. It may not be. It may be some other things outside of Viva, other elements of the Microsoft stack or outside that comes through as recommendations. We get all the right people in the room, talk to them, use some of the design thinking techniques to get them thinking about what it is that you need to do and getting an actionable plan off the back of that. We see more and more that that actionable plan is all about the Viva stacks. So we also have workshops around Viva Connections coming in, understanding what those connections you need to build are, what those different news is, who needs to approve that, what should be seen on there as well, building that out and having it surfaced, running that plan as well. Same with Insights, coming to understand what is it that you want to measure. There are some canned ones within Insights, but you can also build up your own as well. It's a lovely stat from Microsoft. They were actually looking at, if you're a manager and you bring your member of staff into a meeting with you, you're kind of saying, I don't entirely trust them. And if you see that happen a lot, it's a kind of indication that maybe this isn't the right thing to do. But even more interestingly, what they found was that women were far more likely to have their manager in the meeting than men. So actually, there's a kind of unconscious bias that is going on, and it's about surfacing some of that information as well. And that was all from custom reports they build out from Viva Insights. So we come and talk to you about what the kind of things you're looking at, what initiative you have, how we can support those with the metrics. Topics about understanding where your knowledge is, how you're going to get that through to people, what are those topics at a top level you want to go through, and how you can build that culture of knowledge sharing. Because if people aren't writing things down, then you're not getting that information. If it's all in people's heads, fortunately Microsoft can't read minds yet on there. And the final one is a Viva Learning workshop, understanding what learning materials you have, what you think you need, where your gaps are, bringing together your different tools and elements from there. So, in summary, employee experience matters. It makes a difference to organizations, not just to the people, to your profitability, to your ability to innovate, to the quality of work that you've got coming through as well. And with that culture, that digital culture, it's the same thing now. When we talk about culture, it is digital. That is the fundamental part of that, so making sure that gets through. You want to align your solutions to those employee life cycles. Think about how you're going to support people in a different way. I mentioned we do design thinking. It's about thinking about people from different roles, different aspects. And that's the same with your employee life cycle. Think what it means wherever people are as well. Viva supports those solutions. It can be the foundation of so many things with that employee experience, all embedded within teams and in the flow of work that many of you are using already. And it makes it easy to do the right thing. You know you should be booking focus time, boom, click a button. It's easy to do. Now, my next slide is saying any questions. I probably have a couple of minutes for questions. I do have to run off. We're doing a recording of Grey Hat Beards. If you're on the expo hall, if you look at the balcony there, we've got quite a few podcasts. Practical 365 are up there. Susie just disappears, but we have New Habits. Oh, and Ben's at the back there. New Habits are recording later. We have Cloud Conversations with Pete Rising's going to be on there. So give them a wave if you see up there. They might ask people to kind of shout to get a bit of background noise on there, so do give them a wave. I'm going to try and hover around the CPS stand a little bit later. I'm talking with Sarah at 2:30. 2? Thank you. I've got it in my calendar, don't worry. We're talking a little bit more about Viva Topics and how it can be used for minnows and for enterprises. So whether you're a small shop, whether you're a massive Microsoft, McDonald's size, how that makes a difference as well. So come and join us then. But anyone got any questions at all?
What's the licensing?
I knew that was going to come up. Fantastic. It's a mixed one. So if you're talking about the 4 pillars, Viva Connections is included with the license you have, whether it's Business Premium, Enterprise, E1, 3, 5. It is included in that. It's all, I don't want to say free, because it's included in your license. When it comes to the others, it's changing. It's in public preview at the moment. You've got things like Viva Insights. You get the free part of that that's available for the personal. For the manager in Insights, you're looking at around £4 per user per month for everyone who wants to be feeding into that data and getting the information from it. It's for people that you want to get the information about. So whether they're using it and looking at that data, or whether you're using that, seeing that data from people, you're paying for that as well. Yes. Yeah. Always a fun conversation, that one. Importantly with that, for a while, it was only available on the enterprise SKUs, so you had to be an enterprise customer to be able to get that information. As of, about a week ago, it's now available on the web client and CSPs, so you can get that per user license as well as consumption, which makes it a lot easier to kind of trial and get moving for small organizations as well. Viva Topics, they're trying to kind of standardize on this £4 per user per month. Viva Topics as well will be that, and that's anyone who wants to see those topics or edit them will need a license from there. And Viva Learning, again, there's a free tier for it that gives you some elements. Otherwise, it's £4 per user per month on there. I think it's fair to say that Microsoft Ignite is coming up in, 2 weeks' time? There's always a lot of announcements there. I can't say any more, and I don't know definite more from that, but it's fair to say there's likely to be more about Viva that comes through from there. So definitely keep an eye on the announcements from that. But I decided not to put the licensing because I knew someone would ask, so thank you for that one. Any other questions? Yeah. That's a really good question. So for anyone who didn't hear that, out of the 4 pillars, if you're going to advise someone where to start, where would you recommend? There's kind of a simple answer to that. I mentioned that one of them is included in your license. In terms of business case and getting back in, Viva Connections is there. It's very easy to turn on with the preview, especially if you already have a modern SharePoint intranet, you can get moving with that fairly quickly as well. So I'd say that was a good one. I would follow that very closely with Viva Topics, because those work together. You're sharing that information, that communication to people. It's then about pulling the knowledge, and you can do that. In fact, we had a Viva workshop yesterday. I was about to say it's in the slides later about topics, but no, it's not. The getting started, you can run a small pilot, and you can just license those people, understand what content they're coming through, and then build it up from there. So you're not talking about taking that whole whack of a large organization and seeing the pricing there. So I would start with those 2. I would put Viva Insights slightly underpinning that, because that provides all the numbers, that measures your initiatives on there. That can be a really one to support and understand how well things are working. I put Viva Learning last because it is the least mature. Exactly your comment on the maturity. I'd say Viva Learning, again, it's in public preview at the moment. I don't think it's as feature-rich as would be nice. I would certainly pause slightly on that one. Martin. So the question there, does it work with B2B federated accounts? I'll be honest, I don't know. It's the short, quick answer to that one. It's a very good question. I mean, it depends on which one you're talking about. Viva Connections will, I don't know how, I don't know. I'm not going to try and guess and run from that one. I love questions because it gives me a thing to think about and go and look at afterwards. But yeah, good question. I would have thought with ones where it's licensed, you probably have to license them so it wouldn't work for those on there. Viva Connections, again, it would be the same as the SharePoint stuff.
I suppose the query there is, if you've got guest user accounts, then they show up as your tenant as users you can assign a license to. But I'm not sure if B2B federated show up in the admin center.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I haven't played around with that for a while.
Acquisitions and mergers where it can take 6 to 12 months to bring them into the same tenant.
Yeah.
You know, I'll leave them on the line.
Yeah. I don't think you get the full experience. So things like, I know Microsoft Search doesn't work well with guest users, so you're going to kind of lose out on some experience. I would certainly, if you're going to do that, test it an awful lot and try and do it. I know with Search, and whether this will change things, there's something on the roadmap about being able to get, being able to search across 2 different organizations for people. So having that pulled through, whether that's going to be things moving together on that. If you do have any questions, please don't come and grab me afterwards. I'm going to wrap up so the next speaker can get ready. But otherwise, thank you very much.